The use of marijuana has been an ongoing concern in the United States since the early 1930s. This plant is very misunderstood. Over the past decade, 16 states have legalized some form of marijuana use. In the past couple of weeks, the states of Colorado and Washington have made it 100% legal. However, under federal law, marijuana is treated just as any other controlled substance. It is classified just the same as drugs such as cocaine, heroin, and even though it's natural and harmless. Times have changed, and new developments have been made as far as the benefits that can be reaped from the so-called drug. The current economic and environmental crisis in the United States should be enough reason to be a bit open-minded. The complete legalization of marijuana and hemp in the United States will increase economic revenue, improve the quality of life for its citizens, and benefit the environment. Legalizing the use of marijuana and hemp in the United States will drastically increase the country's economic revenue. Marijuana is wrongly classified along with heroin, cocaine, and other illicit drugs. Therefore, it is impossible to determine how much money is spent specifically on keeping marijuana illegal. However, according to the Office of National Drug Control Policy, the United States government spends more than $12 billion per year on drug control programs. According to an article called "The Price of Keeping Marijuana Illegal," this number does not include the amount of money spent on the cost of active law enforcement, cost of prosecution and/or defense of accused offenders, cost of incarceration of convicted offenders, and the cost of foster care and social services for children of incarcerated offenders. If marijuana were made legal, all this money would be saved and could be used to crack down on the truly harmful drugs such as heroin, meth, and cocaine. These drugs are proven to be detrimental to the health of American citizens. Contrary to belief, according to Professor Lester Greenspoon of Harvard Medical School, marijuana is one of the least toxic substances in the whole pharmacopoeia. As suggested by a 12-year University of Pittsburgh study, contrary to drugs such as heroin, cocaine, meth, crack, ecstasy, and even some prescribed painkillers, marijuana is not a gateway drug that predicts or eventually leads to substance abuse. The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws adds that. This is interesting considering that both alcohol and cigarettes are legal. Not only could money be saved, but money could be made. According to a June 2005 report written by Dr. Jeffrey Moran, a visiting professor of economics at Harvard University, replacing marijuana prohibition with a system of taxation and regulation similar to that used for alcoholic beverages would produce combined savings and tax revenues of between $10 billion and $14 billion per year. Myron also argues that revenue from taxation of marijuana sales would range from $2.4 billion per year if marijuana were taxed like ordinary consumer goods, to $6.2 billion if it were taxed like alcohol or tobacco. We'll see what happens after a year with Colorado and Washington. Legalized marijuana would reduce the flow of money from the American economy to international criminal gangs. Marijuana's illegality makes foreign crop growing and smuggling to the United States extremely lucrative, sending billions of dollars overseas in an underground economy. This process diverts funds from productive economic development in the United States. Legalizing marijuana would create millions of jobs in agriculture, packing, marketing, and even advertising. In an article written by the Business Alliance for Commerce and hemp is a multi-billion-dollar industry. With over 50,000 commercial uses, today's hemp is the most resourceful, sustainable, and valuable natural resource on Earth. Conservative estimates of this profit potential exceed $500 billion per year and tens of thousands of new jobs once the trade obstacles are removed and this valuable cash crop is again allowed to compete in the market. The legalization of marijuana can aid in the improvement of the overall quality of life in American citizens. Marijuana, or cannabis as it is more appropriately called, has been part of humanity's medicine chest for as long as history has been recorded. Normal agrees that of all the negative consequences of marijuana prohibition, none is as tragic as the denial of medicinal cannabis to tens of thousands of patients who could benefit from its therapeutic use. According to an article written by Jerome P. Cassier, a doctor, he makes a very valid point in stating that modern research suggests that cannabis is a valuable aid in the treatment of a wide range of clinical applications. These include pain relief, particularly of neuropathic pain, pain from nerve damage, nausea, spasticity, glaucoma, and movement disorders. Marijuana is also a powerful appetite stimulant, specifically for patients suffering from HIV or dementia. Emerging research suggests that marijuana's medicinal properties may protect the body against some types of malignant tumors and are neuroprotective. Legalizing marijuana would also ensure the safety of many children and teens. A regulated legal market in marijuana would reduce marijuana sales and among teenagers, as well as reduce the exposure to other drugs in the illegal market. The illegality of marijuana makes it more vulnerable than if it were legal, providing opportunities for teenagers to make easy money selling it to their friends. If the excessive profits from marijuana sales were ended through legalization, there would be less incentive for teens to sell it to one another. Teenage use of alcohol and tobacco remain serious public health problems even though those drugs are legal for adults. However, the availability of alcohol and tobacco is not made even more widespread by providing kids with economic incentives to sell either one to their friends and peers. Due to the fact that marijuana is not regulated, there are no safeguards against contamination by pesticides, herbicides, and other toxic chemicals. In this sense, it is actually the fact that marijuana is illegal that causes the health danger. If marijuana were legal, steps could be taken to reduce the health risks associated with it by avoiding contamination. Legalization of marijuana and hemp can be beneficial to the environment. There are numerous ecological benefits that come with the legalization of marijuana and its cousin, hemp. If hemp were legal, it could be grown for a wide variety of purposes. The stalk of the hemp plant has been used for fiber for thousands of years. The seeds are a source of oil that has been used for paint, varnish, and fine lubricating oils, as well as for proteins suitable for animal and human consumption. Since the hemp plant has been effectively unavailable for these uses since about 1937, America has turned to other resources, many non-renewable. Using them has been far more detrimental to the environment. Hemp fiber is at least 10 times stronger than cotton and has few, if any, natural enemies. This is the one reason some people call marijuana weed. Cotton can be grown commercially only with lots of fertilizers and pesticides, and growing it depletes the soil. About half of the pesticides used in the world are used on cotton, which also requires the use of a lot of water. If it were legal to cultivate hemp for fiber, America would be using far fewer pesticides. About half of the forests in the world have been cut down in the past half-century to make paper. A U.S. Department of Agriculture bulletin in 1916 explained how paper could be made from the pliable herds in the hemp stalk and predicted that if machinery were developed to separate the herds from the fibers, a thriving domestic paper industry could evolve based on hemp cultivation. The machinery developed in the 1930s did just that, but then hemp was declared illegal. According to the USDA, 10,000 acres planted in hemp will yield as much paper as 40,000 acres planted in trees. Fewer caustic or toxic chemicals are required to make paper from hemp than to make paper from trees. A favorite interest of environmentalists is alternative fuels produced from biomass. Corn, sugarcane, and kenaf are the plants most often used because they grow so much in a single season that they produce plenty of biomass to be refined and processed into methane or methanol. However, they are more expensive than petroleum-based fuels. Hemp, however, is the world's champion photosynthesizer. It converts the sun's energy into biomass more efficiently than any other plant, with at least 4 times the biomass or cellulose potential of corn or kenaf. It could compete economically with petroleum-based fuels. Coal and petrochemicals get their energy from the sun thousands of years ago, storing energy as the plants decayed. Biomass fuels releases fewer impurities, and the fuel source spends the growing season removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through photosynthesis. In addition, biomass fuels contain no sulfur. The environmental effect of banning hemp has been the use of far more environmental damaging alternatives. If hemp were legal, it could become an affordable and low-polluting source of fuel, paints and varnishes, textiles and fabrics, paper, and even food. Hemp may even be able to replace trees as raw material for pressboard or particle board construction material. PVC could even be made from hemp. Relegalizing hemp could be the single most important environmental reform America could undertake. The benefits of legalizing marijuana and hemp are endless. With America facing economic and environmental crisis and the overall morale of American citizens at an extreme low, something radical needs to be done. The dangers of marijuana have been exaggerated for almost a century, and the modern scientific record does not support the reefer madness predictions of the past and present. Many claims of marijuana's danger are based on an old 20th century preconception that originated in a time when science was uncertain how marijuana produced its characteristic effects. All can agree that marijuana or any other substance used such as alcohol or tobacco is not for children. Nonetheless, adults have demonstrated over the last several decades that marijuana can be used moderately without harmful impacts to the individual or society. Prohibition has failed to control the use and domestic production of marijuana. The government has tried to use criminal punishments to inhibit marijuana use for over 75 years. Nonetheless, marijuana is still used by over 25 million people a year. Cannabis is currently the largest cash crop in the United States, and marijuana is grown all over the planet. Claims that marijuana prohibition is a successful policy are ridiculous and unsubstantiated by the facts. Legalizing marijuana will save America billions of dollars a year, while at the same time bring in $billions of revenue. The overall quality of life of the American citizen will improve drastically, raising the country's morale. The environment is suffering year after year with the destruction of forests and added pollutants. Legalizing marijuana and hemp will decrease environmental threat and save what is left.